All right. Hello, hello, everyone. Hello, Samantha. Great to
Hello,
see you.
Christopher. How's it going?
Fabulous. Yourself?
Good, good, thanks. Ooh, your background's nice. I dig it.
Thank you. I'm gonna just wanted to get us signed on here, and I see some people are registering already, signing up here. So I'm
Great.
gonna throw a little screen up here for us to chill out for a few minutes and just wait for everybody to get started. But
Sounds good.
I was just already excited about this, so I figured I'd open up and get us going a little early. So let's see here. Boom.
Good.
All right,
What do
y'all. We'll
we?
be getting started in about 5 minutes. 5 minutes,
Perfect.
please. Just 5 minutes.
Always good to see who are the early birds and coming in too.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's see who we got. Tell us where you're from, y'all. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see what
Lawrence,
we got.
Linda, Sylvia,
All right.
Darby Joe. That's a cool name. I dig that.
Darby Joe. I wish I had it too. Christopher Scott, just like way too many syllables in the front end.
Actually, Darby Joe makes me think of. Sorry, Darby, I'm gonna pick on you. It makes me think of the Pelican Brief. It's a really old movie, but do you remember this movie?
Yes, not Aaron Brockovich, but what is her real name?
Julia
Julia Roberts. Yeah.
Julia Roberts, yeah. She was Darby Shaw in that. So
That's
Darby's a good name.
right. That's right.
Darby's probably like, "Oh my God, why are they saying my name so many times?"
Or she's like, or she's the significance for She's like, I love when they say my name.
Yeah.
That's why I add the joke.
Darby's messaging us. Darby and the Little People. I don't even know what that is. I'm gonna have to look that up.
It's probably like a crazy band from the 60s.
Yeah.
All right, we got Merritt Brass, Cleveland, Ohio. Hello, Linda Knickerbocker. That's a name I could say a lot as well, y'all.
That is super cool. It's gonna be 60
uh,
minutes on that.
on names that are fun to say. All right, yeah, we're gonna get rolling in about 3 to 4 minutes here. We're gonna let people getting on here. Excited to talk about discovery calls, and I got a couple great ones from some messages that I got on LinkedIn and Facebook. So
Yeah.
looking forward to discussing those.
I can't wait. And
Oh,
for our Knickerbocker from Cleveland, I have to tell you, one of the most amazing restaurants I've ever been to is Lola in Cleveland, which I just love. And I can't even remember the name of the dessert that they have there. That's
Lola,
outrageous.
I think I may have been there. That's not in the flats, is it? It's outside on the other side of the flats.
I think so. Well, Linda, I bet could probably tell
I'll bet
us.
Linda knows. If I was gonna go with Knickerbocker, I would have gone Knickerbocker. Oh, excellent dining place in the Knickerbocker Hotel in Chicago would have been the first thing that
Ooh,
came to me. Yes.
also great. I'm trying. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the area that it's in. But it has this just ridiculous dessert there. But the flats are also super fun. Actually, I was in hanging out at the flats for Labor Day a few years ago, and the Blue Angels flew over. We were jet skiing.
Oh,
It was kind
very
of
cool.
amazing.
See, I'm
Yeah.
from Michigan, so it was not. It was always around the corner from us, and yeah, I guess they redid a lot of it within the last 5 to 10 years or so, and had a huge project down there, and just really turned it all around. We used to go
Totally.
down there a lot when I had a friend that was a DJ in another life, and we used to go down there and visit a lot. He had some great, real cool stuff in Cleveland down there,
Very
Midwest,
cool. Yeah, yeah. Midwest is
representing.
great. I love
All
it.
right, where's everybody else from? All right, we got more people coming on here. Where are we all from?
Hi
Let's
guys,
see
welcome.
here. Got more people joining us every second. We're gonna start about 2 to 3 minutes, y'all. Welcome, welcome, Madison, Wisconsin. Very nice. Y'all are fighting the line of warm and cold right now, I'm sure. All right, Townsend, U, Maryland, Indianapolis. Just drove through Indianapolis the other day. Came up from Austin all the way up to Michigan here. New Hampshire. New Hampshire and Maryland. I'm about to go see some of that gorgeous
Yeah, you
northeast
are.
fall colors, which I've been hearing my whole life about. I'm Michigan, born and raised. We got great colors here, but looking forward to see some of that beautiful stuff up in the northeast.
Glad to have a
Georgia. What do you
yeah.
got for us?
No, yeah. Glad to have the Towson too. I'm in DC, so just a hair away from you, Bernard.
That's right, DC.
Yeah, to link up.
I heard
Chris,
DC is one of the best walking cities there is in the country, I heard.
We've got kind of an amazing city, I think. When do you hit the road for your foliage
Ooh,
tour?
this weekend, I take
Nice.
off on Saturday and get up. I got a little Monday, Sunday, and Tuesday afternoon. We're gonna do Mount Katan, which is 4,000 feet up in 4 miles.
Holy moly. Good
Yeah,
luck.
and then you got to get back down again, which should be a nice
Your
treat.
your quads will be in great shape, buddy.
Yeah,
Shaking all the way down.
I did some extra squats the last couple of weeks, but I did not do enough. I'll tell you that already. Uh, Come on over. We're coming to New Hampshire. All right, y'all. We're gonna get started in 2 minutes. 2 more minutes. Got a lot of people joining us right now. I see we're stacking up. We always have a lot of people here right up in the 2 to 5 minutes after. So we're gonna wait 1 or 2 more minutes, and we're gonna get rolling.
Can't wait.
Boom. Can't wait. Can't wait. Oh, here we go. Here, y'all coming on now. There we go. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And we're going to talk discovery questions today, y'all. This is going to be a fun one. Oh, you know what I am going to do? Which it is time for us to do. Let's do this. We're going live on Facebook. Let's do that. Let's go on our page. There we go. Boom, boom, boom. We're going to put this one on Facebook NASP page, y'all. And we are going to get started here as soon as we preparing to stream live. Are you ready, Samantha?
Ready for it, Chris.
All
Born
right,
ready.
all right.
Let's
I'm waiting
go.
for this thing to click over. Boom, boom, boom. Not now. We are here. We are. Boom. We're making it happen now. I got a little delay with my whole body movement, which is also fun. So, so let's get rolling, y'all. All right, we're gonna get started. Still got people joining us, and that's great. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Please drop in right off the bat. Let us know where you're from. When we like to hear about the weather. We like to hear about what city, state you're from. We like to know all the fun stuff about y'all. And I think that kind of leads us into what we're talking about today, which is discovery calls, right? Discovery calls, as many people say, are some of the most important pieces of the entire sales process. Really one of the most important aspects of the entire sales process. And our topic today is, are your discovery calls as bad as your online dating results? That might speak personally to some interactions that I am having, but we also have the great Samantha McKenna, aka hashtag Sam Sells, Sam Sales, sorry,
Sales. You're good.
SAMSALES Consulting. And for all y'all who don't know, I don't have her whole bio in front of me right now because I did drop the ball on that. But Sam is an exceptional characteristic of a professional salesperson and a professional relationship builder. You see her on social media. You see her in all of her relationships. Everybody's got great things to say about her. Tremendous feedback on everything she does. Every engagement she's with, people, she invests in the front end. She invests in the back end. She invests in her friends. She's an ex-head of enterprise sales for LinkedIn, y'all. So she also knows all the ins and outs, and she's here to share with us sometime. So thank you for being here, Samantha.
Thank you for asking me. Such a pleasure to be part of this and to lend some advice and insight for this incredible organization. So thanks you guys for joining too. Really excited to share with you my thoughts and feedback.
Welcome, 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 everybody. So before we get rolling, I want to let everybody know one thing that you are going to get from this day. From this time that you're investing in this call, you're going to take at least, and I guarantee it, if you don't, you're going to get your money back. I promise you that, all right? But you're going to at least take away one piece of information, one valuable tweak or twist or shift that you can make to your discovery calls that are going to add value and eventually increase your conversion, right? And when I say increase conversion, I mean increase conversion on those calls. It doesn't mean necessarily that you're able to close a deal on that discovery call, because that is not our objective here, right? The objective is to build relationships. And imagine, before I let Samantha get rolling, imagine if you could increase your conversion on relationships, right? Converting those discovery calls into longer term relationships by 5%. Over your career. I mean, that's 1 out of every 20 calls turns into another deal right now, and who knows what that happened, how that multiplies down the road, right? So we're gonna get started right now. Samantha, I want to get you rolling because I'm gonna shut up. But I got a great question which kind of kicked this whole conversation off, and that is, what does a bad discovery call look like?
Oh God. I think I've heard so many of them. I think that when you really think about it, the discovery call, to me, we really have one job on a discovery call, right? So if we're not doing what I'm just about to talk about, that's a bad discovery call. Your job on the discovery call is to either solve the challenge of the person directly through what you sell, or to find somebody who can, right? We've got one job. And so if you think about that, right, if you go into every single discovery call you have and think, okay, how do I solve the challenge the person has, either through what I sell or what through somebody else I know sells? How are you going to find that out, right? And that's by asking questions. So one of the things that I find in a bad discovery call is that we jump on and we're like, hey, Chris, thanks for taking time. Let me tell you all about Sam's sales for the next 45 minutes. And Chris is like, oh my God, I'm going to jump off a ledge. And I'm like, why? Don't you want to buy my stuff? Square peg, round hole? Come on, please.
Don't you know how awesome I am?
Right, exactly. And so what I'm doing with that, right, if I'm just coming on and I'm pitching and I'm talking about myself for 28 minutes on a discovery call, that means that I'm going to tell you what I do, and I'm going to let you assume or figure out how I can fit into your world versus the other way around. And I need to know what your challenges are and everything that you're doing in order to be able to have a proper discovery call, get that information out of you, and then to be able to, again, either solve the challenge, hopefully with what I sell, or put you in the right direction. And I'll say one more thing, and I'll turn it to you, Chris, but think about what we were just talking about, relationships, right? How do we build relationships? How do we get more effective relationships in even our discovery calls so we can convert even 5% of those? The way you do that is by selflessly, not thinking about yourself, but thinking about the prospect and saying, man, you gave me 30 minutes of your time today. I'm going to make sure it's valuable. Again, it's either me that's going to solve whatever challenge you have or someone else. And even if it's not you, one day you probably will be able to solve their challenge, and I promise that they will come back to you for it.
I love that. I love that. And I got 2 points to add. I heard Richard Smith from Sales Hacker mention it in one of his articles. He called it premature pitulation. And and I just love that concept because look, the discovery call is not your opportunity to pitch your product. If you had, I think if you had 5 or 10 more minutes that just available, take that time to find out more information. This is a gathering outcome. And it's such an easy trap to fall into, to hear an opening and say, but it doesn't fulfill you. It doesn't allow you to accomplish your outcome.
Totally. I think a bad discovery call also kicks off with no rapport. A bad discovery call kicks off with the wrong kind of rapport. So while we want to know where you guys are from and the weather, I never want to talk about the weather unless I'm in California and our state's on fire. I don't want to talk about the weather. I want to think about a discovery call, uncovering the stuff that you uncovered, or talking about the stuff you uncovered in your meeting prep. What do you know about them? Where did they go to school? What do they like to do? What's on their LinkedIn profile? Who do they know that you know? Like, let's talk about the meaningful stuff so you can really form great rapport, other than being like, Chris, it's getting cold out there. How about for you? Riveting, Sam. It's also getting cold here. It's winter. Oh, cool.
The weather should not be a point of conversation unless you're selling meteorologic, that word, weather equipment. Let's just say it there so I don't make a fool of myself anymore.
We have brains, we promise, guys. So you can trust us.
Yeah, for sure.
But think about that for your first dates, right? Again, you might talk about the weather on the first date, right? Maybe it's appropriate to do that, but think about what are you doing on a first date? Are you talking about yourself the whole time? Hopefully not. If you are, let's have a conversation offline because I can help you there too. But you're trying to figure out, hopefully you're coming to the table asking questions of your date to figure out more about them and to show interest. And you're doing the same thing on your discovery call, right? We want to make sure, again, this is the platform for the person that was so generous to give us their time, to tell us their issues, and for us to figure out how do we solve them.
Absolutely. And I want to add a little twist here too. I heard you say the word selflessly, right?
Yeah.
And it's a concept. It's a different idea, but one of the things I've read recently is, look, no act is selfless. Everything is selfish, right? Because why am I being selfless? Well, so to eventually get to the outcome in which best serves me. Yeah. But the outcome that best serves me is a happy, satisfied client. If I can't have you, tricking you now to think you're going to be happy and satisfied when you're not going to be in the long run does not help me in the long run. It hurts me.
Totally. Well, and you think about that too, like your selflessness, like you're exactly right. Like most of the things that we do from a selfless perspective really goes to benefit us in the long run. Let's take today for example. I'm happy to give my time and an hour of my time to the NASP to talk to you guys about exactly what you should know for a discovery call. There is, I promise you, no $1 million paycheck coming from my time here. I'm so happy to share my information. What do I really hope? That you'll go and tell your sales leaders Sam was amazing and she has to coach us, and I will just readily wait. But at the end of the day, even if that doesn't happen, how great is it to be able to give that time, right? You want to benefit other people, but of course, there's always a little hope that it'll pay off in the long run, no matter what you do.
Absolutely, and I think that just that idea and concept of what you propose this conversation and this call is the same thing that you do your discovery calls for. It's a standard in which we kind of live at Truths and Visions and the National Association of Sales Professionals. Is It's a mouthful, I know. And then you like that? I went back to the weatherman
Paint
thing.
your logo.
I know. But it's delivering value and trusting that, look, if you always deliver value, money will always follow.
Yeah.
Nobody gets rid of valuable people.
Yeah.
And money is only an exchange for value. And if you see the great people out there, you look at Samantha, look at people like Russell Brunson, look at Max from Sales Hacker,
Culture.
Alcher.
Yeah.
Yeah, these people, they give everything that they have. They give all their value to you. Why?
Yeah.
Because they're abundant. They're
Yeah.
abundant. And look, oh, there's so much more of it. There's so much more that you need to know. There's so much more support and help. So I can give you
Totally.
everything that we have and know that there's still more to come. And
Well,
I think it's
and
a great frame of mind.
yeah, and think about this too. You know, let's think about our profession from a sales perspective. What do people think about us, right? When you hear the word sales, or somebody says, "I'm a salesperson, I'm a salesman, I'm a saleswoman," what do most people say? They say, "Ooh," right? Because we have a bad name, right? We're working against that, like kind of get what do I have to do to get you in this car salesman mentality. We're working against that to say we're really here to be a pair of hands and to help you. And so you might think that a salesperson is selfish, is only after whatever is going to benefit them. So imagine if you are on a discovery call, you find out some information about the client and that you can't help them, but you say, I know who can. And you introduce them to somebody who can, right? Maybe it's a peer that sells a great product that can help them. And you do that. That client's going to say, this was a really atypical engagement. I've never had somebody take a discovery call with me and help me get assistance that wasn't directly beneficial to them, and that will really stick with you forever.
That's so true. And you also said too that the aspect of like, look, let's not all pretend the elephant in the room isn't there. Look, you can make jest of it. Don't pretend that you're not in sometimes an awkward conversation, right? Look, I know it sounds like I'm interrogating you, but I really would love to know more about how we can help you. And also like, setting up I heard a great analogy the other day of getting an agreement at the beginning of your call. How much it really frames the call and disarms the people to move forward through the process. And it sounds
Yeah.
like such a simple thing, but frame it. Why am I here? What could we accomplish today that would really, make this an awesome investment of 30 minutes for you?
Yeah.
Getting there and then allowing them to get to the end of the call and go, yeah, I did the thing that I said would be awesome and did it in 30 minutes. And Samantha helped me. This
Bam.
brings this, yeah, this makes me want to have more calls, right?
Totally. Well, and so think about this. So let's even start with where the best way to kick off a discovery call, right?
Love
Because
it.
I
Let's
think,
go.
right, we talk about really bad discovery calls. Here's places where I hear just things go awful. And you guys, I bet I would love to hear from you, although you guys might be hesitant to tell me if this is you. But one of the most common things I hear is, let's say a business development rep was able to set up the call for you today, or let's say it was, a referral from somebody, and you get on the call and you say, Chris, thanks so much for taking time with me today. Tell me what interested you in taking my call today. I think it's one of the worst ways to open a call. And you might think like, oh my God, I do that. And why, right? Because what is someone that maybe is kind of a jerk going to say to you? They're going to be like, because your BDR got me at the right time.
Yeah.
And they're going to deadpan and they're going to be quiet. And then you're going to be awkward and nervous and you're not going to know where to go. And it's going to be awful. And then you're just going to nervous talk about yourself for the next 28 minutes.
It's an
Or
interesting, easy question because,
yeah,
but you don't think about it. You're actually asking them to talk about how awesome you are in a very weird, uncomfortable way.
completely, right? And
Yeah.
nobody wants that. So here's my always my go-to, and anybody that I've ever pitched will tell you this is what I hear from Sam. Every time I get on a call, I'll say, Chris, thank you so much for making time for me today. So again, I've formed rapport, by the way, so we're now launching into it. But I say I can tell you a million things about Sam Sales, where I think we can be of help to you, what I think we can do. But tell me a little bit about your company first. Tell me about your team. Tell me about the structure, goals, challenges you're having. I'd love to hear from you first, if that's okay. So I want to talk about a couple things that we're doing there, right? So one, we are establishing, I'm going to tell you a lot about us, just not yet. I would love to know about your challenges, right? I'd love to know about you. And so when I say I'd love to know about you, somebody might be like, well, what about me? And so I give you a few crutches, right? Like your team, your challenges, obstacles, whatever. And then I'm saying, if that's okay. So you tell me, maybe you get on the call, maybe you know a million things about me and you have zero interest in telling me about yourself. You just say, I know about Sam Sales. I have very pointed questions. I don't want to tell you about us. Just, I have questions for you. Can I ask? And then you're like, sure. Okay, great. And that's wonderful when that happens. But you're asking, you're basically laying that out, right? And I think the important part too is in the middle of giving the person crutches to think about, okay, your team, your challenges, all that stuff. I don't actually care about those. I don't care about any of the specific questions I have. What I am literally trying to do with that question is crack your head open and get whatever the heck is in there of why you're spending time with me on the call. And it's amazing. We'll dive into what you get out of that, but it's amazing what a just data dump and stream of consciousness comes after that.
Love it. And two things. One, you do a great job of, look, I do a lot of things awesome and great. So let me find out about you. So it's not like, well, hey, look, before I tell you about me, I want to know about you first. It's not like it's providing a very valid reason. Look, there's so
Yeah,
many different ways we could go with this. So let me find out which best way can suit you, which really kind of gives that, takes away that excuse or that posturing that could be. The other
totally.
thing I want to point out is that as Sam does, and I've had a call with her and I've heard that exact sentence. The great salespeople are uncomfortably, I'm sure of it at first, but the great salespeople say that use key phrases and key sentence and key questions verbatim over and over and over again.
Oh, you do
And
exactly right.
it will feel uncomfortable, won't it, Sam? The first time
Yeah.
you started saying the question in that way and you said it again and again and you had to say it to the same person maybe two times, you're like, but you realized it worked and and that's why you kept using it, correct?
Yeah, and I think you think about this too. Like if for any of you guys that have worked for the same organization for a long time and been in or even been in the same space, perhaps you work for different companies that compete, you know what works. You have your terrible jokes that you use that are funny to prospects, but like, make you want to just like roll your eyes because you've said it 9 million times. You know where to pause, you know the things that are gonna dazzle people. You come up with a script, right? And we go off script, and this isn't a corporate approved script. This is I have experience in this and I know what works script. So if you start to use those pieces of frameworks, right, and even the way you close a discovery call, I mean, this is just such a great way to start to kind of build some repetition in there. I long for the day that someone hears someone else say my words and say, "You got that from Sam McKenna." So one day I will get to that level of fame. I'm working on it.
I love it. Yeah, you hear that. It's a Russell Brunson thing all the time. You hear people repeating his words, and certain things work. There's NLP, there's psychology. There's always great tools, and great salespeople embed these tools within their processes. So,
Totally.
love that, Sam. I've got a great question here.
Yeah.
You mentioned something earlier. So Melissa Lingo said, you mentioned something earlier about doing your research, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
having good background and questions. So Melissa says, when you can't have a face-to-face meeting where you're able to look around the office and formulate questions to ask and build relationships, where do you get your inspiration for those questions? I got a good idea of a lot of those answers, but I'd love for you to answer that for Melissa. Great question, Melissa.
Yeah, for sure. So, good first point is if you are, I assume you're not, but if you're waiting until you enter an office to start to think about, okay, what are the questions I'm going to ask this prospect or this set of prospects, we're really missing the mark, right? Because we want to do as much preparation as we can in advance. So, one, nothing is worse than getting on a call. Like, let's say I got on my call with Chris, to talk to him about what we can do to help his organization, and he said, "Yeah, like I would love to tell you about me. Tell me what you know about my company first." And I would say, because I didn't do any of my research in advance. Nothing is worse than getting that question and you're thinking, I know zero. So we want to make sure we do our research first. One, in terms of finding things to build rapport on and like actual connectivity, you definitely go to LinkedIn, right? I've been a LinkedIn fan since the day it was incorporated. Obviously, went to ultimately work there, which was a dream job. But you go to LinkedIn and look, right? So I want to know anything that I possibly can. I'm looking for, again, where they went to school, where they worked previously. If they've gone through my coaching for LinkedIn tips and tricks, they've got a great profile that's built out in their about section. I'm looking for anything that they share, people they follow, organizations they volunteer from. Like, what can I connect on? And I also like to think about this, and I use this in my outbound messaging. And certainly when I coach reps on how to do outbound messaging properly, but I'm looking not only for the surface level of what they do and what they're interested in, but I'm looking for one level below that. So I'll give you a good example. One of the SDRs on my team said, okay, I think I can come up with a connection for this guy who lives in Vegas. I'm going to tell him, that I've visited Vegas before. And I'm like, riveting. What do you love about Vegas? Like, do you have a place you love? And she was like, yes, there's this place that has incredible food called Lotus of Siam, if anybody knows it. It's in a strip mall and it's the most amazing food ever, just wonderful. And she's like, it's incredible. And I'm like, why don't you just put that in the subject line? If he lives in Vegas and this place is, an institution, he will know about it. So she puts it in the subject line. He responds right away. And he's like, oh my God, I kill for that place. Right. And you build rapport just in a different way. So it's not just like, I see you live in Vegas. I like Vegas. It's, what can we figure out below that? So definitely look into that. I'm just picking up a note to keep going on this about Rich and the stalkerism.
Yes.
Excellent question. So I think it is expected at this point, especially for executives you're talking to, that you are going to do your homework. If you don't feel so comfortable on the personal level, look at the company level. And when you look at the company level and start to dig in on what you can know about the company, again, don't go surface, go one level below. And here's what I mean. So if anybody is a Tesla fan out there, yeah, ditto, yeah. Tesla was really being watched for their Q2 earnings, right? So that came out, I think, on August 31st or 30th. Everybody was looking at that, right? Then they had phenomenal Q2 earnings, the stock went up, and it was coming for a split, all that stuff. Why does this matter? Because every single SDR, BDR trying to get into Tesla sent an email and said, compelling event, congratulations on your Q2 earnings. Riveting. What did our BDRs do? Our BDRs looked for other things that Tesla was doing, like they were setting pop-up shops everywhere to educate their clients, and that's the tactic that they used. So yes, it's still a compelling event that they're using, but in a different way. And you can do that before your meetings, right? And say, hey, congrats on your Q2 earnings, but tell me more about this pop-up shop. This is so cool that you guys are doing this. It shows you've done your homework. One other note, and I'll stop talking on this, but the way to also avoid being a creeper is to not look at Instagram, Facebook, things like that, unless there's some kind of Instagram influencer and they really want that. Don't look at that stuff. I have been on a call with a brand new rep that was like, hey, it's like, I saw your beach pictures with your family on Facebook. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, we're never going to get this meeting or this deal. So I think there is creepy and there is appropriate and expected.
Very, very well said. Yeah. They're like, how did you find my Instagram page? It's private.
I created a fake account and you let me follow you and now I can see everything. Oh dear God.
That's awesome. No, I love it. And I think one of the other pieces that comes across too is be authentic, y'all.
Yeah.
You can see right through something that's not authentic. You can see right through when somebody is speaking about a topic that they have no appreciation for, right? Because if I'm going to just point something out on your page, or that you have, that we had, that I'm familiar with, that's going to resonate with you, but I have no understanding or knowledge of it, and no appreciation of it, it's going to come right through. What if they ask me another question?
Yeah,
Right. So
totally.
So be authentic. I think that's a huge, huge piece about it. And also, don't just spray out there with like, hey, look, you know what? I got to talk to 20 people today. Let me find out as much about them as I can today. Reach out to them. No, build a relationship. Drop a
Totally.
note on one of their posts. Make a comment later on. Tag them in something else. And then after you've built this rapport and this relationship, then maybe reach out to them with some, hey, you know me. I know we've seen each other. I just want to let you know I also appreciate this awesome thing about you and that you like too.
Well, and let's talk about this off topic from the discovery call, but let's even just talk about Chris and I's relationship here, right, and how we got here. So, in over the course of my career, you build a great brand, and I'd say probably 2 to 3 times a day I get requests to be on podcasts and to do webinars and to be panelists and things like that. And while that was wonderful, and if I got paid for it, that'd be great. But at the end of the day, it's not what there's only so much time in the day, right? And some of that time has to go to my business. So why Chris, right? So why did I say okay to Chris? Why did I take a meeting to talk about this? Why did I even agree to write a blog post for Chris? I'll tell you why. Because he made the investment in me first, right? And he came to my LinkedIn. One of the best things that you can do, especially for people who post on LinkedIn a lot, is engage with their content. You're doing them a favor because they're looking for one, that back and forth and to have that rapport with people, but two, for the exposure, right? They want to get their name out there. So Chris just started commenting on my LinkedIn consistently, and I was like, "Who is this guy?" And then Chris reached out and said, "Hey, would you write a blog post for us? Any chance?" And then, "Hey, would you be on our webcast?" And I was like, "Oh, sure. Okay, great. Here we are." But it's an easy yes to say, especially when you stand out from the crowd of everybody else who doesn't make that investment and just says, "Sam, I have 6 followers, and do you want to be on our podcast?" And we're like, "Oh, no, thanks. But thanks for asking." So those little things really matter.
And thank you very much. And to speak it from my end, I don't want to bring guests onto our podcast that I wouldn't spend time with, right? There's a million people out there that coach sales and all these different things. There's a million people who have great products out there, but for us, it's important to spend time with the people that we associate those same values with, right? Because
Yeah.
for me, as you said even before earlier in this call, sometimes a discovery call does not lead to a sale for me, but leads to a sale for Sam or leads to a
Yeah.
sale for someone else within the community. And what does that bring? One, it makes me look like a king, right?
Totally.
Because I'm the resource person of everything. But two, now I've got reciprocity out there.
You
I'm
got it.
finding ways to help other people. Now, what do they look for me?
To- Totally.
I, I looked for when I got on started investing on LinkedIn again. I said, all right, well, what do I need? I need people to invest in my posts and engage with me. So what did I do? I said, oh, I'm going to go find out the people that I want to engage with me, and I'm going to go and engage with them.
Yeah, exactly. And let's break for something really important that Lawrence is asking. This sadly a spindrift, not a IPA. But I
Oh,
will.
Lawrence,
I
my
would be
man.
great to kick back with an IPA right now. I will say for our Madison, Wisconsin attendee, I think you've got a beer that I've been trying to try. Spotted Cow, something like that. Something Cow. You might not
Ooh,
know it. But I hear you can only get it in Wisconsin, and I hear people drive across states to get it and then bring truckfuls home. So
spotted cow. Just made a note.
I think, oh, is it? Okay, Lawrence, you saying it is amazing. So
All
maybe
right.
I'm right with the name Spotted Cow. See, guys, you're learning so much today. I mean, beers, how to date better. I mean, you're welcome.
And this is a great example, y'all. Like I've far too many times heard people when you get into a discovery call, it should be a rapport building conversation. And how do you build rapport better than being your authentic self,
Totally.
right?
Yeah. For sure. You're right. And you're absolutely right that people will see through that. You know, if you try to kind of fake it until you make it in that regard, I think it's fine, but it's also okay to just say, okay, I was reading on about your company and reading about this, and I'm fascinated, but I have no idea what any of this means. Tell me more about it, right? It's totally fine to say I'm super clueless about this new cancer drug that you guys are developing. I was having a conversation with Merck the other day about that, and I was like, I can't even pronounce the name of this medication you guys have created, but at least it still shows that I've done my homework and I've invested in them, and just a chance to build rapport and show that most importantly I have a brain, which is really important.
Absolutely. People love to talk about themselves and the things that they're great at and the things that they're working on.
You got it.
Giving them the opportunity, most people will take that shot, especially if they're in a high level position, an executive, as a leader. They're more significance driven and they love talking about themselves. So if you can give them a very educated understanding that you are person worth talking to and give them an opportunity to speak about themselves and the great things that they're doing,
Totally.
people will rise to that occasion for sure.
Yeah, no kidding.
Awesome. All right. All right. So we got another question here. We say, all right, Kevin Duffy. I love the questions. Thanks for engaging everybody. Is everybody we're getting some good value out of this conversation, right? Y'all can raise your hands. I can't see them all, but I assume you're doing it. All right, great. All right, what strategy would you use or suggest when it comes to cold calling, as cold calling is different discipline than a discovery call?
Absolutely. So let's think about cold calling. And Dan, thanks for the heads up on eye level. My camera and my laptop are at different places, but hopefully this is a little better for you. So here's what I think about cold calls. I personally do not like cold calls. And I think that there are two schools of thought. There are people who love cold calls and think that they're not dead, and there are people who hate cold calls and think there are better tactics. I'm on the latter side of it. If you are required to make cold calls as part of your job, I would just think about, again, doing your research in advance and coming through in a way that's authentic. One of my most hated things is when somebody mispronounces my name when they call me, which you might think, Samantha, McKenna, how hard is that? I am called McKenna all the time. There's two N's, one A, I don't know how, or one E. Even I don't know how to spell my own name. But that happens all the time. I hear somebody kind of flounder. So just see if you can figure out how to spell and pronounce the name correctly before you get on the call. But then also, one of the most hated things that I hear is, hey, Sam, this is Bill Johnson. And do you have 36 seconds for me to tell you why I called? And I'm like, no. And Chris, you might get this all the time too, and I don't know how you feel about it, but for me, it automatically says sales call, automatic pitch, they don't know me, etc. Right? So again, just try to do your homework and try to open that call in an authentic way. Now, if you don't have a quota for making cold calls every single day, and you're thinking more from an outbound perspective, I would say a few things. One, I think email is fantastic, but one of the things you want to think about is how to set yourself apart in the emails that you send out in order to get on those discovery calls. Directly on, so you can go to my website, samsalesconsulting.com, and I've got a ton of resources, but one of them is top 10 tips for excellent outbound sales messages. So you can take anything off of there completely free of charge. But one of the most important things is the idea of show me, you know me. And this is one of my favorite taglines, one of my favorite acronyms. Do your homework on that person and put that in the subject line. Let's think back about Lotus of Siam in Vegas that I mentioned earlier. When you think about that, put Lotus of Siam in your subject line, right? Lotus of Siam plus one other thing of show me you know me that you've discovered on the person, plus maybe your company name. Someone's going to read that and think, how do you know this? And how do you know this about me? And this is something you've obviously done your homework, and that's going to get someone's attention. So that's what I would say for that, and hopefully that helps.
Love that, love that. And Lawrence has another question here in regards to cold emails and cold calls, but I want to comment about cold sales calls, right? So I think that there's a big difference between a cold call and a cold sales call.
Yeah.
A cold reach out, cold email. There's a difference between what is your outcome on this call? And I think I'm going to go back to this great term, which I read not too long ago, which is premature capitulation. And I got to make sure I say it right. I got to look at the, but the idea is, look, build a relationship before you pitch, uncover a need before you pitch. Don't go in there with the outcome to sell if you don't have anything to sell to.
Right.
Yes, you got a product, but your job is not to sell a product. Your job now as a salesperson in this generation is to educate our customers and uncover their needs and then provide them with the solution. So I think that a cold calling, cold emailing, cold texting, all these things are great, but with the outcome to build a relationship, with the outcome to set a meeting, with the outcome to uncover a need down in the future or something in that first. Don't call and get ready right for your pitch until you've done the first 2 or 3 steps.
Totally. And I think what you want to think about is we're definitely shifting into a mentality of what are other mechanisms that we can use to get on somebody's radar. And I think it's kind of like when we made the transition from, print advertising to online advertising. There was so much reticence, right? And now you wouldn't even think, like, we still do print advertising, but my gosh, you're just putting something in a magazine or on a billboard or whatever and hoping that you get some eyes. Whereas in digital, you can get so much more ROI. And I look at the same thing with how we do our outbound outbound outreach. One, if you don't know about a technology called outreach.io, fantastic platform. I would highly recommend you take a look at it, especially for any sales leaders that are on the call.
Max's new company, right?
Yeah. Well, I think he's been there for quite some time, but and sold Sales Hacker to Outreach. But unbelievable technology for automating all of your outreach and making you hyper efficient. But the other thing that I would think about is that while the cold calls are, still kind of part of our rhetoric, you want to think about a couple of things here too. One, again, when somebody picks up the phone and they hear a cold call, their first inclination isn't like, woohoo! Their inclination is, ugh, what do you want? Right? Because we know a pitch is coming. So I think there's stronger ways to do that. Two, especially in our climate right now, hard to get people on the phone, hard to get on their cell phones, busier than ever, right? If we do meaningful show me, you know me outreach instead, higher likelihood of getting in front of them, right? Again, instead of just having to do a bunch of calls, and then you're meeting them on their terms and with their willingness to take a call from you. Last thing I would say on this topic, because I know we're up for discovery calls, but if you are a sales leader, if you are the head of a company, if you are a CEO and you think about making your own cold calls, think about the perception of that as well for your audience. So if I, as a CEO of Sam Sales, call a prospect and say, hello, do you have 36 seconds for me to tell you about me today? What is that? Let's say the person says yes, and let's say we have a conversation. And then at the end of that call, the person says, let me ask you a question. You're making your own cold calls and selling for yourself. Like, you must not be that busy, right? So let's pretend I'm not. Even the perception of separating that is really important. So just think about ways, again, you can automate the process with members of your team, or even through an email system where it doesn't seem like you actually making cold calls on your own.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And also that changes then the outcome too, because that first party that's reaching out, or that outreach program, is its goal is now to set up a meeting, not to jam a product or service down your throat as well, which is the process which we should do. Lawrence's question is, along with cold calls would be cold emails. I'm seeing about a 5%, a 0.5% return. I'm in the IT world and all I do is cold. Definitely copy. I mean, I see it all the time. I see people send out thousands and thousands and millions of emails, and I see somebody send out a few hundred and they get twice the reply as the other people, just based on some subject line and copy testing.
You got it. So let's think about this. So average rate of return for cold emails, just like you said, a little higher actually, but 1%. So you think. Yeah. And that's replies. That might be a reply to say, take a hike and never call me again, never contact me again, right? We don't know the quality of that reply. Right. So that's tough. Again, just to go back to the outreach example, why it's great to have that automation, set it and forget it, customize all of your stuff, and it's gone. But here's what I would say also. So under Sam Sales, we've got an entire team of BDRs, so business development reps that go and work on behalf of our clients to try and book their meetings. Our success ratio is off the charts in terms of responses and the quality meetings that we book. We're almost exclusively going after enterprise and almost exclusively going after director level and above. So how do we get such a high success ratio? One, of course, we use outreach. But two, here's what we do. We do our homework. And yes, it's a time investment, right? We spend a minimum of 3 minutes looking at somebody's profile and saying, what can we find for the subject line? So if I'm going to impart 2 pieces of wisdom on you for emails, it's going to be this. The very most important thing that you do in an email is your subject line. The second most important thing is your first sentence. So look back at the emails you sent, right? Like, let's say you're pitching Chris, and let's say you're in IT and you sell a cloud computing technology of some kind. If you say Chris's company name plus cloud computing, he's going to be like, and then if the first thing that you say in your email is, hi Chris, I hope this finds you and your family doing well in this unprecedented time, he's really going to leap off a ledge. So think about this, right? How do you set yourself apart? So one, show me you know me in the subject line. Go grab that resource from my website, use it like it's going out of style. Second, the first sentence, again, could talk about repetition.
One or the other.
We're all tripping on our words. Repetition, what you want to think about there is, I always say, hi, Chris. We have yet to be properly introduced, but I'm Sam McKenna, and I'll finish the rest of the sentence. But Here's what happens with Chris. He's going to read the show me you know me in the subject line. Then he's going to read the rest of the start of the first sentence. And I've got about 12 or so words on average that I can use in space of the pop-up in his Outlook, the advertisement in his email that comes up, right? Or even just what he sees in Gmail before he decides to, back to our dating analogy, swipe right or swipe left and decide what he's going to do, with my email. So I have got to make impact in just the preview, or I have no chance. One quick bonus hack on that too. Think about when you've been emailing somebody, it's your 15th touch and you're like, oh my God, are they ever going to respond? We're in a little bit of a different time now, but think about how we shift. When you want to invite them to a baseball game, an event, a conference, if you're going to be in their city, one of the core mistakes I see reps make is that they bury that information in the email. So they will respond for the 16th time. It's the same stuff that they've emailed already, same subject line, and buried in that email is like, hey, by the way, we're hosting a Cubs game. We're having we rented a suite for 40 grand at oh my gosh, what's the name of the ballpark for Cubs? I'm sorry, I can't believe I'm stumbling there. But anyway, we rented a suite there and we would love for you to join us. If you don't put a call to action of that in your subject line, they're never going to open it and see it. So my bonus
Wrigley
hack,
Field. Thanks, Jack.
Wrigley Field, thank you so much. I've lost all
Reading a
credit.
question, lost my frame of thought.
I've lost all credibility. But if you don't put that call to action, right, again, you're going to miss the chance for them to open the email. So my trick is to put the call to action before the RE in the subject line. So, hosting a game at Wrigley Field, question mark, RE, whatever you've been saying before. Unbelievable open rate and response rate. Even if somebody says no, then you've started a conversation. No, I can't make it. That's a shame. We'd love to meet with you anyway. When are you free?
Beautiful. Absolutely. And Tanya Ho here asks about no BDs setting up calls for how does she get cold prospecting, set up discovery calls. Well, we had a great, just a telemarketer summing up, setting up calls and responding to the follow-up of an email list. And any reply in those is a positive reply because somebody just actually taking the time means that that's a person soft to actually reach back out to. And then you've got somebody working for you and qualified interested meetings being set up for you on a regular basis. And you can do that with a Calendly link, a good set of email sequences, and a person to follow up on. I mean, really very simple, Tanya.
Totally.
Yeah, please. No. Go ahead, Samantha. You had something.
One other point on this. So let's actually talk about the Calendly link because we've had an inordinate amount of discussions on this on LinkedIn and just in sales circles. So, Chris, think about the last time you got a cold email and IT cloud computing and Chris's company's name. Here's what we want to do for you. We'd love a chance to talk. Here's my calendar for you to set up time with me. When I see that, I think this is the lazy route. This is somebody just throwing some stuff up, seeing what sticks. And instead, here's what I would suggest. Send the rest of your email, right? And then when somebody responds, say, fantastic. Can you send me, unless they send you times, can you send me some times that work? I'll find what aligns with my calendar and I'll get back to you. Now, a lot of people say, well, why wouldn't you just send the Calendly link? It makes it so easy. I don't get it. Let's go back to the dating example. So you ask somebody to go to drinks. They say, sure, I'd love to go to drinks. You've asked somebody for a meeting. They've said, yes, I'll take a meeting. And you say, cool, thanks, Betty. Here's my calendar for you to schedule the date with me that I just asked you for. Who would do that? Nobody. And so I look at meetings the exact same way. It's our opportunity to court the client, for us to find the times that work, for us to check our calendar, for us to send out the meeting invite. Plus then you get to look at what the meeting invite looks like, making sure that there's additional people on there, that they don't have to forward it. I think until you've had that back and forth positive one-way conversation and meeting, you don't use the Calendly link unless they specifically ask you for it. One other note on that, which I see happen all the time, prospects will respond positively and say, hey, thanks for reaching out. I'd love to meet. Tuesday, anytime after 1. And what do I see as the response? Great, thanks, Chris. How about Tuesday at 2 o'clock? Yes, Sam, I just told you. Tuesday, anytime after 1 o'clock. So skip that. Just take what they say, run with it. Avoid.
Invite is on its way.
Exactly.
Invite is on its way. And that's a great point. It's almost a posturing thing, right? When somebody says, go ahead and look on my, you're the one too busy to look at your calendar. I'm not busy and I'm not to do it. So it is a very interesting posturing play that when somebody forwards you their calendar, you're like, Why don't
You got it.
you saw
Well,
mine, why don't you click my link?
or
It's
you
very,
could say that. Could you send me your cal? If you don't have a cal, send me your
yeah,
Calendly, right?
yeah.
That'd be great.
And even having, I think the way that we used it was we had an associate working so that I didn't have to, they just booked through my calendar link. So I had an associate calling on the email sequences, and then
Yeah.
my associate was the one setting up meetings for me all the time, which, so I'm not setting up meetings for myself, and it was this process worked really, really smooth. So that's a
Love it.
great point. And I think that's all these automation tools are there to help you be more personal, to help duplicate your rapport building time, not to automate you like a robot.
You got it exactly. So let's talk about this. Let's think about we back to the idea of the discovery call and what we actually do in it. So we've kicked it off in a great way. We've built rapport, doing our homework. We've started with a question of I could tell you a million things about me, but tell me about you first. And so what do we do then with that information?
Mm.
Here's what I do. When so I do this with Chris, right? And I say, tell me about your landscape on your side. And so what I usually get response 99 out of 100 times is again that stream of consciousness, that data dump of whatever is in Chris's mind. And so if Chris tells me, yeah, so here's a couple of things that's going on our side. We currently have 5 sales reps. We're looking to expand to 8. One of the challenges I'm having is converting discovery calls to demos. He goes on and on and on. And when he's talking, I really try to make a habit of never interrupting. I just want to be quiet, listen to everything he says, let that stream go, and take notes. But when I take notes, I take it kind of remember when you were in English class in college or in high school and you had to build an outline before you started to write a paper. That's exactly what I do. So for Chris's example, let's just say this is what he said. 5 reps to 8, that would be bullet number 1 for me. Whatever the challenge is, discovery to demo, bullet number 2. And I would just make all of those notes until he stops talking. And usually he wraps up and somebody will say, and okay, I'll stop talking now, or does that give you enough information? To which I say, yes. I have a million questions. Can I actually go back to your first point and ask you a few of those? To which somebody will say, yeah. So my discovery call then is weaving my way point by point through all of the things that they said, and I usually follow a formula. I ask more questions about point number 1, then I let them answer. I try to actively listen, so I listen to the answer and I ask another question that uses that information, right? So that's a definition of active listening. And then what I do is I try to tell a customer story and a result of how I have a customer who was in your same boat. Here's what I were able to do with them. And what I like to do when I give the punch of we were able to increase their conversion rate by 98%, whatever. As soon as I give that punch, I'm trying to move as quickly as I can to point number 2. Now, here's why. Because when I'm talking to Chris and I'm saying, this is what I can do to be of value to you, I want Chris to be like, oh my God, that's amazing. And yeah, we have that challenge. And okay, great, that's exactly what we want to do. And I want him to have that feeling over and over and over again so that I can continue to do that through every point and every challenge that he has. Now, it's not a science, and you certainly don't have to do it for every point. But if I can get Chris to be like, oh yes, oh that too, oh okay, yes, throughout the call over and over again, and then at the end I can say, I think we can solve your challenges. Let's move on to a demo in a slightly different way. Man, will I have one.
That's beautiful. And I think, the active listening piece, one of the things I was thinking about earlier is this whole breaking patterns, right?
Yeah.
You have to break, if you're going to cold reach out to anybody or even warm reach out to anybody, bringing up business for the first time, you have to break their pattern. They're in a pattern of work. They're in a pattern of responding to people that are telemarketing to them all day long. You have to break their pattern so that they can, listen to you and actually hear you. And I think that is a great process of doing it is by restating, letting them know that you truly heard them in a different way and that you are actually you actually understand their need and their hurt and their pain. I think that's a huge piece
Totally.
that allows you to build and bring that relationship forward.
And even if you are in a transactional sale, just by you being consultative, right, showing that you understand their business, they're going to see you as an ally, right? They're going to see you as a subject matter expert. They're going to learn from you, and then they're going to say, I wonder what else you know that we don't know and we should know, right? They're going to want to pick your brain, and the only way they can do that is by moving forward.
Absolutely. And listen, transactional sales, yeah, they're transactional, but they're also big referral possibilities as
Yeah,
well, right? So build a relationship and that person's going to be the one to share you with every single other person. And they're going to do it proudly. Have
you
you
got
ever
it.
shared a referral with somebody that you were excited about? You're like, oh, no, I got the perfect person. You're going to love them. They're great. That's what I choose to, every relationship, every call, every discovery call I go on, I say, when this person gets off the call, I want them to want to refer me right off the bat. Like
Yeah.
whatever, you got to know this guy, you got to speak with this person, you got to work with this person, because I want people to like the way that I made them feel when they were with me. And the best way to do that
Love that.
is to allow them to talk about themselves, to let them know that I'm truly listening and that I care, and to go from there. And if y'all look, if you don't pitch them on this discovery call, what are they going to be waiting for the next time you talk to them? I can't wait for this person to sell me. I've been dying. I told them all they can help me. I can't wait to make this move, right? Like, you're going to leave that there for them to kind of be leaning in for it now, which is a
You
beautiful place to be.
nailed it. Totally nailed it.
Awesome. All right, we got another question here. We've got, let's see. All right, Eddie, let's go. Eddie A. Can you talk a bit? Oh, this is a great question, Eddie. Can you talk a bit about existing customers that are not key accounts, but that you are looking to grow business with them? What is the best way to go about that? So reintroducing the opportunity for upsells and more business.
Yeah, so outside of the obvious, right, to make sure that the account is healthy and getting out of you guys everything that you had promised, or the first rep had promised in the sales cycle, I would say a couple of things. So one, working with that team that already is an existing client for referrals. So even if that's not in your purview, right, like let's say that the account was sold by net new business rep and then given to you as an account manager or as an expansion rep, and it's the first day on the job with this client, and you think, okay, I've got 12 months to figure out how to grow this account. So I would, one, focus on building the relationship and making the investment with the existing client. Get to know who the users are, who the champion was, who the decision maker was. Also, interview the sales rep that initially sold the deal. What was the sales cycle like? What was the approval process like? What can you learn from that initial sales rep so that you can expand that opportunity? And once you build that relationship with team A or line of business A, then say, there's all these people with your same title, right, in other lines of business that I'd love to meet. And you know what I do? I go to their LinkedIn, I do a quick search to see who do they know with the key titles that I care about. Since I ran LinkedIn Navigator for LinkedIn, if you guys don't have that, oh my gosh, highly, highly advocate that you invest in it, especially if you're sales leaders for your reps. But you can pull a search like that really easily in Navigator. Then you can go to that person, right? Like, let's say I sold to Chris, and I can say, Chris, Mary, Jim, and Beth are all people with your same title in different lines of business. I see you guys are connected. Do you know each other well within your organization? Can you introduce us? And then what do I have? I have a warm lead, I have a referral, I have it from a user inside the walls of the organization that can get me in. And here's my favorite part. I've already gone through the procurement process. I've gone through all the T's and C's, the red lines, the InfoSec, all of that is already done. And now I can just expand. And people are much more apt to buy from you when they know, especially if they're large enterprise organizations that have really challenging procurement processes. Those people are excited to say, hey, we already work with you. You're an approved vendor. Oh, thank God. Okay, great. We can buy from you.
Absolutely. And that reminds me too, that understanding, and this is a great question for the discovery process, which was newly introduced to me this year, and I realized how many deals it could have saved me in the past. But what is your decision-making process?
Right? Yeah.
Understanding that, and then once you understand that, being able to replicate that and duplicate that within the business on other opportunities, because learning a new decision-making process for a new company is half the process of getting through that to that close and that deal. And so once you know that, to be able to follow through that same process again is, a huge opportunity.
Couldn't agree more. And I think you want to think about a few things here too, right? So the decision-making process, one, if you are not multi-threaded in an account, you're really, really, you're at such a risk. So what you want to do with multi-thread, if it's the first time you're hearing that, is to make sure that once you have one person in the organization, you're connected to a bunch of people in the organization, right? So think about what happens if you're connected to one person and they leave. What if they get fired? What if they get hit by a bus? What do you do then, right? So you're going to be in trouble. So make sure you're multi-threaded. But then the other thing that I would tell you, in terms of Chris's point about what's the decision-making process look like, keep in mind that a lot of people won't know, and they won't know the right steps to take. So it's our job from a sales process to ask kind of obvious questions sometimes to lead them through a process. So even if you say something like, hey, we're so excited that you're into our technology and that we're moving forward with our contract. What do you need from me from a terms and conditions perspective? Or do you know who it is that reviews your InfoSec documents? And when you get someone that's like, oh, wait, what? And you're like, aha. And you realize that they don't really know, right? So it's our job to understand what that decision making process look like, even if it's a new account, but certainly if it's an existing account, so that we can walk that person through it. This might be the first time that they're buying whatever you're selling in general. It might be the first time they're buying in their life, right? So if they're a new leader, let's say, it might also be just the first time that they're buying a product for this particular company if they're new and they don't know. I'll tell you to one of my landmark deals was with a company called Takeda Pharmaceuticals, if you know, huge organization. And one of the rookie mistakes that I made that almost cost me President's Club and Rep of the Year was that we didn't know, the team didn't know that we needed a teeny tiny weird little stamp, like the smallest little thing to be stamped from procurement before we could get a deal done. So it didn't matter whose approval we had. If we didn't go through all these circuits that took weeks and get this stamp, we would have been out of luck. And I think I closed the deal on like the 28th of December.
You heard her throw in the almost there, right? Almost didn't get, almost wasn't President's Club, almost wasn't Salesperson of the Year.
It wasn't going to happen. But think about that stuff, right? So don't trust the prospect that they know that what they're talking about. Most of the time they don't, and it's our job to help them lead them through that process.
I love this. This is great. Such great value here, Sam. Thank you so much for this time. One of the things I've noticed, and I want to speak to all y'all out there who's still on the call. Tanya is going to reach out to you, by the way. That's awesome.
Good.
Tanya will love to be in touch. She had a jet, but listen, I think, and I'm going to be honest, I think when I see Sam, I'm like, this is the person that was in the school and was like hanging after class. Like, I didn't get 100. No. Where's my missing extra credit point? Like, right. So here, I say it with all love because I love and admire, but often I felt myself like I can't be that person just because I wasn't that person at times. But this is a standard and this is a practice. Takes practice. Becoming new, changing your habits, changing your patterns. It's just a practice, and practice leads to, permanency. And so it will be uncomfortable at first. It will feel not exactly normal and not exactly easy at first, and the more you do it, the more it becomes who you are and what you do. Take 1 minute to tell you all about the CPSP. Look, a lot of the things that we do here on our webinars is introducing new topics, new strategies, new ideas, and new things that we want to shift to. The hard part is to say, yeah, but I've been doing it like this my whole life. Now, how do I just change the way I think and change the way I behave and change the way I act to do this? Well, that is what conditioning is. And that's what inch by inch means, little by little that you do these things. And that's what our programs are great for at NASP, is they give you that accountability to take, I'm here, I need to be here. And these are the little things that I can do in order to get there. Help me with the accountability to do those every day so that they become my new identity. Okay.
Couldn't agree with you more. And I would say, guys, there's so much to master in sales. So if you hear the advice that we give you today and you think, I don't do any of this stuff, how on earth am I going to get into that habit? Just as Chris said, right? Old adage, practice makes perfect. But just think about a few things that you can better, right? Even if you just change how you do your discovery call and then change the way you take notes, start there. That is a monumental, will make a monumental impact to your process. So, take it bit by bit.
Love it, love it, love it. Inch by inch, everything's a cinch, y'all. Sam, it's been an honor. Really had so much fun with you here. We might have to figure out another panel to do a podcast together. I just enjoy our conversation. I promise I won't ask for any more. Valuable time, y'all. Listen, so all right, first off, make sure that everybody on the call go to NASP.com, get your free membership if you're not already signed up. We do these webinars weekly. Got a new podcast coming out next month. We've got guest blogs with some amazing people like Samantha herself starting very shortly. So make sure that you check all that stuff out. Sam, where can our guests find more information about your LinkedIn training, all the other awesome stuff that you do? And also, FYI, check out our new website too. So where can they find you, Sam?
Thanks. Just pop over to samsalesconsulting.com. It'll have everything, tons of free resources there that you need, videos, all sorts of things. If you're not a Navigator customer, there's also a 60-day free trial on my site. So doubles what you can get on linkedin.com. So there's a perk for you guys. And then of course on LinkedIn, feel free to connect. And if you want to do me the ultimate favor, always engage with the content that I post and give your ideas. I welcome whatever's in your brain and what you are willing to share with my audience.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Y'all reach out to Sam. She is as real as she comes across on the podcast and her posts. Check out hashtag Sam Sales for her sales tips that come out on a weekly basis. Check out her new website, all that fun stuff. Sign up for your membership. Watch more webinars. Inch by inch every day. Be awesome and have fun, y'all. If you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong. Really, honestly, with all love. If you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong. So have more fun. And Sam, thanks again. We'll see you
Thanks,
very
Chris.
soon. Ciao, everyone.
Thanks.